This is Keys to the Shop, episode 282, How to Listen to Your Customers. Well, hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of Keys to the Shop, where we give you insights, inspiration, and the tools you need to grow as a coffee service professional. My name is Chris DiFurio. I'm your host for the show, and I'm really excited to have you with me today. Now, if you haven't subscribed to Keys to the Shop, please go ahead and hit subscribe. Also, be sure to share these episodes with a friend, and if you really love Keys to the Shop and it's helped you, it's helped your business, it would really be awesome if you give us a 5-star rating or review over on Apple Podcasts. That would be fantastic. It really helps the ratings of the show, helps people find it, and thank you so much to those of you who have already done exactly that. Now, besides doing this podcast, Keys to the Shop also offers consulting and coaching for you in your business. Whether you're just starting out or you're an existing operator, there are so many ways that Keys to the Shop Consulting can come alongside you and help you build a thriving coffee business, help you level up your operations, your management, your people, and your quality, whether that's over the phone remotely or on-site in your cafe. I would really love to talk with you about what you've got going on and how Keys to the Shop might be able to help you in that. If you're interested in consulting from Keys to the Shop Consulting, then just email chris@keystotheshop.com. That's CHRIS@keystotheshop.com. We can set up a free exploratory call and talk more in detail about what your situation is and how Keys to the Shop can help you. Again, that email for Keys to the Shop Consulting, chris@keystotheshop.com. Today's episode of Keys to the Shop is brought to you by Prima Coffee. Prima Coffee is one of the world's best specialty coffee equipment suppliers because they select and bring in the best equipment from around the world to outfit your coffee bar with. But on top of that, they work with you to select the right equipment for where you are in your coffee shop journey. That's so important because it's a huge expense. There's a lot of stress around the equipment, and Prima is there to help give you confidence and take the stress out of that with the kind of service they provide, the kind of equipment they provide, and the education. If you go to prima-coffee.com, you'll see a ton of great resources that'll help you be a better coffee professional. And right now you get 5% off your entire order by using the code KEYS5 at checkout. That's KEYS and the number 5 at checkout, and you'll get 5% off your entire order just by being a Keys to the Shop listener. So it's a huge deal. And if you're in the market for commercial equipment, grinders, espresso machines, or even under-counter refrigeration and everything in between, then I highly recommend Prima Coffee. Check them out over at prima-coffee.com/keys. Today's episode is also brought to you by the Pacific Barista Series. The Barista Series is the line of plant-based performance beverages that provide you with consistent excellence no matter what you're choosing from their extensive lineup, because Pacific has designed these for the professional specialty barista and with a lot of feedback from the best baristas in the world. For each one of their products, they go through this process, and that's no wonder that it stands up to the heat from steaming. It provides amazing texture for latte art, and the flavor is amazing, and it keeps the balance of the beverage focused on the coffee. So this is a huge win for you, a huge win for your customers. Go check them out over at pacificfoodservice.com. Get it in your store and try it for yourself. If you're looking for the best plant-based beverages to serve your customers, then I highly recommend the Barista Series from Pacific. All right, everyone. So today we're going to be talking about how to listen to your customers. Now you might be thinking, well, I know how to listen to my customers. They talk, I listen. But it's a little bit more complicated than that. Your customers are co-creators of your coffee bar with you. The way in which you listen to them is going to determine the direction of your coffee bar into the future. Because as you listen to them and take action on what you hear, then it basically defines who you become. And it's hard to get out of certain things that you've committed to. This is why we have a lot of episodes around the idea of how to enact change in the coffee bar. Change is inevitable. We kind of want to be in the driver's seat of change. Now, some of the feedback that customers give us is great, and it actually works really well for our businesses, and it drives more business. But other things that we've done as a result of requests that customers have had ends up not being so great for the business, and we kind of wish we could take it back. So I want to take this opportunity today to talk a little bit about how we should go about listening to customers, because not everything that a customer says is going to be something you need to take action on. That would make a huge mess. And it's my opinion that I think sometimes we put a little bit too much gravity into the whims of customers, while at the same time not really taking action on clear messages from customers that will do our business good. So let's get into this a little bit. The first thing I want to mention is that we need to be connected and aware. So when you're connected and aware, you're not only connected to the market in general. In other words, there's a trend of like ready-to-drink cold brew, or there's a trend of bubble tea, or there's all this stuff happening in the market that you're looking at online. Maybe you're on forums and you see, maybe this is something for my community, maybe it's something for my customers. That's a kind of feedback that you're getting from the market. But you need to be also aware of your local market. What are people lining up for in your hometown? What are they basically telling you by not telling you? They're not actually voicing it to you, but they're voting with their dollars by lining up for different items at your competitor's place or in the grocery store or whatever. You being aware of the market, both globally and locally, is going to help you get your bearings to determine whether or not something that a customer says to you is actually worth listening to, and isn't just some kind of a crazy idea that somebody came up with because it's not their shop on the line. It's easy for them to say that, but you need to make decisions based on something a little bit more concrete than somebody's whim. So you have to be in touch with the market. Now, in and of itself, that's fine. But without something to regulate that, you're going to be going off in lots of different directions, and it creates a lot of confusion. So the thing you need to be looking at is your vision and values, and determine whether or not what you're about to add to your menu or do with your coffee bar lines up with your mission and your values. And that will act as a filtering mechanism so that not everything that comes across your desk is something that you want to put in place just to see if it works. You have to make sure that it's connected to your mission and your values in a way that moves those things forward, and then also at the same time serves your customers' needs and desires. Needs first, desires second. So all of this is sort of observational, going to see what your competitors are doing, going to see what the market is doing, looking at what makes sense for your mission and values. So far, we haven't had any direct feedback. It's just been observational. I'm aware that things are going this way. Maybe this is something for me. Let's find out. Now, arguably the best way to actually find out what your customers want is to ask them. And I don't think that asking them by having a suggestion box is a good idea. I see that sometimes, and it really kind of, it seems cheap to me to have a suggestion box, because it says, we don't want to talk to you about this, but if you want to write it down, then put it in here, then that's fine. Otherwise, we're not welcoming your feedback. The conversational nature of feedback and creating a culture that's open to having people give honest feedback is what creates a dynamic business, both internally when baristas feel that they can give feedback to their bosses, but also the customers giving feedback to the owner or baristas, and nobody's getting upset about it. That's the thing, is we're so used to not getting feedback that when we do, we get upset about it. Asking people means actually asking them and creating a posture of desiring to get that feedback. Asking customers how their coffee was, or what they thought of a suggestion that you made, or a new menu item that you added. There are a lot of ways that you can ask over the counter and make it conversational that will, over time, give people the message that we really do want your feedback. The other thing you can do is find out who the really good customers are and ask them direct questions across the bar. Just ask them, what can we do to improve? What do you think that this coffee bar can do to serve you better, serve the community better? Really interested in what you think about that. And you'd be surprised at how many people jump at the opportunity to lend a hand to help you out, because people have thoughts about what it is that they'd like to see you do. Whether or not that lines up with your mission and your values is another thing. But asking the question is the first step, and selecting who you ask is a really good idea. Now, there are people in my life that know me well that I will ask various questions about, either my podcast or my personal life or something like that. And I ask them because I trust their opinion. They have a certain dedication to me. They've been in my life for a certain length of time, and they can have an informed, educated opinion that represents both an outsider's perspective and also a perspective of somebody who can kind of cut through my own BS, right? So the same thing here with you as a owner, or if you want to train your staff to ask these questions, that's also a possibility. You can ask some of your best customers for their best advice, suggestions, feedback. And I think people would really jump at that because as we've seen in 2020, people really love the idea of helping out their local coffee bar. It's really fascinating and we need to tap into that. Sometimes the suggestions that people have for feedback on Yelp are helpful. A lot, even the negative ones can be helpful, but getting direct and honest feedback from somebody who's well acquainted with your coffee bar and wants to see you succeed is a really, really good idea. Now, the other thing I want to mention about asking is you need to ask the data. A lot of people aren't willing to voice their opinion, even if you ask them. But if you introduce an item like a flavor or a signature beverage and it's selling really poorly, and there's some feedback happening there that you need to pay attention to, especially over the course of a year. Now, if you're just opening and your vanilla syrup is not doing as well as your caramel sauce in the first month, then you're not going to have much to go on in terms of trends. You can't make decisions in such a tight space, right? You have to have a little bit more data to actually determine if something is a loss that you need to cut or even if something is a winner. I mean, some things could be circumstantial. So if you've been in business longer than a year and you've got at least a year's worth of data and you look at the trends in what people are purchasing, then you can infer from the data that, this menu item is not selling well, obviously. People, therefore, don't really take well to, whole bean coffee that tastes like strawberries. Natural processed coffees that you like maybe are not selling as well as the chocolatey, smoky, nutty coffees. And when you go to buy green coffee now, you've listened to the feedback from your customers, from the data, and you can make intelligent purchasing decisions that don't put all of your eggs in the basket that wasn't informed by that feedback. Now, with listening to your customers, there's some danger here. We are serving the customers. We are serving our local community. But like I mentioned a couple times, there are a lot of people who just have wild opinions about what you should serve in your store. I remember one guy years and years ago was like adamant that the cafe I worked in should sell like fried dough, like elephant ears, like at the carnival, because people would line up for that. And in his life, I'm sure at some point he was just like, wow, look at that line for fried dough. And probably has said that to everybody who sells food in his life, including the cafe. But as an owner and as an operator who is really desperate to get people in the door, sometimes we can listen to somebody say, oh, you know what? You guys should do like a turtle latte. Oh, no, you should do like a raspberry mocha. And you would say, gosh, a customer asked for that. I mean, it's easy. All I have to do is buy the syrup. I just put it on the bar and serve it. And then maybe more customers will want that. That is reckless behavior when it comes to the operation of your cafe. If you had 10 people asking for chocolate raspberry lattes, then maybe you can start thinking about, well, how can I do that in a way that is us? How can I do that in a way that's on brand but still satisfies the desire of my customers? Like that'd be a good thing to think of. But maybe there are a lot of people want something, but you just can't serve it. To use a ridiculous suggestion like fried dough, of course, you're probably not going to sell fried dough in your coffee bar. Now, if you're out there and you do, and that's part of what you want to be, and your original business plan had fried dough in it, then great. But it's so far off in left field that even if 10 people said you should serve elephant ears, you'd be more likely to point them in the direction of the local elephant ear stand than to serve it yourself, even if there's a high demand for it. So back to the values, back to the mission. But when things land within the possibility of something that's on brand for you, then in mass, you can start entertaining that idea. But I see so many people accumulate syrups, sauces, powders, just different concoctions and menu items. It's like a Kitchen Nightmares where the menu is 8 pages long, 8-point font. These variations are there. We have something for everybody, like the Walmart of coffee bar menus. And that is an overwhelming thing for you to manage, your staff to manage, and for your customers to navigate. You're left in this position that says, well, so many people ask for these things, but now they're not buying them. What gives? The reason why is because we haven't taken the time to discern what is good feedback that is actionable and possible for our business, and that which is unapplicable to our circumstance, where we're just going to have to disappoint like that one person who wants that thing because it isn't really practical for our business to do it. You can't be afraid of disappointing people because there are going to be people that just feel like you should have something and you don't. Sugar-free options are an example of that. You can't offer a sugar-free version of every syrup that you have. And you shouldn't. You shouldn't try to be all things to all people. You should have something on your menu that speaks to a category of desire in a tastefully restrained way, but you can't just make your coffee bar a repository for people's menu desires, because out of all the hundreds of people that come to you, you can't just have hundreds of menu items. So you have to filter these things and use some discernment, or else you're just going to end up with a confusing concept, and you're going to lose your identity in the process. Your brand's identity is like your identity. It's based on constraints. It's like using the term authenticity, right? There's an expression of who you are that's authentic, and then there's one that is just insecure and desperate to be liked by everybody, which just makes you not liked by everybody in a sense. If I changed the way I spoke and behaved in every context that I was in to fit in, then I would lose who I am. It's a great quote from an author that I like. It says, "Let people feel the weight of who you are and deal with it." It's not meant to be flippant. It's meant to give you the confidence to say, this is who we are, and of course I want to learn and receive feedback. Like I said earlier, people will speak into my life and I think, man, they're right and I need to adjust this or adjust that. But I also need to be able to say, this is who I am. And it can't just be based on everyone's idea of who I should be, if that makes sense. All right, so I got kind of deep there. So basically, you don't want to be in bondage to the whims of your customers. You want to be authentic. You want to have some structure to this and use discernment in the process, or else you're going to end up with a lot of confusion down the road. Now, one of the things regarding listening to our customers that I don't think we consider, part of listening to your customers is not always to just put into action right away everything they say, but it's to build up sort of an identity of them and how they interact with your space. Sort of asking the question, who is this person at my cafe? What do they love? What are they constantly buying? What are their idiosyncrasies as a customer? Sort of like their coffee shop personality. This is the kind of thing that allows you to give thoughtful gifts and surprises. So when you buy a gift for somebody and it's just an off-the-rack birthday card with an Amazon gift card, okay, that's like offering a Shamrock Shake during, St. Patrick's Day. You're not really thinking about your customers there. You're just kind of like phoning it in at that time, unless your customers are just like crazy about shamrocks and, how did you know? The opposite of that would be to have sort of a deeper knowledge of what your customer base really likes, and then make it something very thoughtful that shows that you were listening, that you see that they really liked this one special that you had last year. And because they liked it so much, you're going to bring it back, but you're also going to invent something to accompany it. And it's a surprise, right? You leave yourself some room to do that when you exercise restraint, but you also build up a knowledge base of your customers, and it becomes really special. People can tell that you're paying attention and not just blindly inserting ideas and trends from other disconnected places, but that you yourself are connected enough to know that, man, we really liked that one drink. We're going to bring it back, but we're going to add a couple more things for this seasonal menu that we think you're really going to like based on what we know about you. So that's a great use of all the information that you gather from listening to your customers. Now, to summarize, to listen to your customers you need to filter things through. So to summarize, to listen to your customers effectively, you need to create a culture of feedback where it's part of the conversation across the bar, or it is a direct question to somebody that you trust. You need to be looking at your data to show you what people are purchasing, and you need to have a good amount of data to actually make intelligent decisions on what's working and what's not working. You need to use discernment and filter things through your mission and values. So not every whim of the customer is going to be put into place, because the danger is that you could be held hostage by these random suggestions that make you fearful that if you don't, this person's going to leave, and you don't want to have anyone leave ever. You just need to make sure that you are confident in who you are, but open to feedback from customers that fits in with what you're doing and actually enhances the experience instead of cheapening it. And you also need to employ the information that you do gather about your customers through all of this feedback and conversation to create winning menu items and service experiences that are exciting, surprising, personalized, and not just kind of generic and off the shelf. And all of that really helps you build connection, put down roots in the community as a business. And over time, as you do that, your business becomes a cherished part of the community because you've learned how to listen to your customers. So I hope that this episode was helpful. And if you have any questions, comments, or feedback about what was discussed on today's episode, I would love for you to email me, chris@keystotheshop.com. That's also where you can reach out to inquire about Keys to the Shop consulting. Again, that's chris@keystotheshop.com. And now, if you are really curious about learning how to run a coffee business, you want to energize your staff and really be equipped to succeed in retail specialty coffee, then I would hope to see you at Coffee Fest. Coffee Fest trade shows have been going on for over 25 years. I've been involved with them pretty much full time since 2004 as an instructor, a judge, competitor, and all that stuff. It has been really amazing to see the kind of value delivered to the attendees of Coffee Fest trade shows. You have an incredible assortment of free classes and lectures, really affordable workshops, and of course a great trade show floor with vendors of some of the best products out there for your coffee bar. The Coffee Fest is happening 4 times this year. That's going to be in San Antonio, Atlanta, Anaheim, and Portland. I'll be at all 4. I really hope to see you there. You can go to coffeefest.com to learn more information, and stay tuned for the Coffee Fest 365 launch, which is an online learning platform from Coffee Fest. That's going to be hugely valuable. Go to coffeefest.com to learn more about that as well. So anyway, I hope to see you at Coffee Fest. I'll be teaching classes at all 4 of these trade shows, and maybe I'll see you in the audience. Please be sure to say hello. More information over at coffeefest.com. And with that, that is the end of our show. Thank you everyone so much for listening today, for sharing these episodes, for just your support of Keys to the Shop. It's going to be 5 years pretty soon of doing this show, and it's been really awesome. And that's because of you, and I really appreciate you again. And as always, I hope that this episode has truly given you keys to the shop.